Hi, this is Dr. Gregory Sadler. I'm a professor of philosophy and the president and founder of an educational consulting company called Reason.io, where we put philosophy into practice. I've studied and taught philosophy for over 20 years, and I find that many people run into difficulties reading classic philosophical texts. Sometimes it's the way things are said or how the text is structured. But the concepts themselves are not always that complicated, and that's where I come in. To help students and lifelong learners, I've been producing longer lecture videos and posting them to YouTube. Many viewers say they find them useful. What you're currently watching is part of a new series of shorter videos, each of them focused on one core concept from an important philosophical text. I hope you find it useful as well. In Book 3 of his work on anger, Seneca is going to do something that's quite common in ancient moral philosophy, which is to give us a number of examples that we should consider and hopefully follow. Although, we don't have the scale of power. Most of us, I won't speak for everybody who might be thinking about this, but I know I certainly don't, compared to, say, Augustus Caesar or Philip of Macedon. But we can certainly derive some useful lessons by looking at how other people handle situations in which they're liable to get angry and what sort of character traits they display, and perhaps even, what reasoning they use. So in chapter 22, after saying he's just reviewed a whole bunch of bad examples, these should be considered examples to avoid. And then he says, conversely, some examples to follow of controlled and gentle behavior on the part of people who lack neither a reason to become angry nor the power to take revenge. And then he's going to give us, some of these examples. So controlled and gentle behavior, moderata. So you could say temperate behavior, self-controlled behavior, and then gentle is translating lenia. We get the word lenience from this. When you're being lenient towards somebody, you're giving them a break. You're letting them, to some degree, off the hook when you don't actually have to do so. So you could be too lenient, of course, but usually it's viewed as being a good thing. And this is for people who, as he says, didn't lack a reason, a causa, a good occasion for getting angry. Now, you might say, well, wait a second, Seneca. I thought you said before that anger is always a bad thing. We should understand this rather as it would be entirely understandable for people in these situations to get angry, even though it's not a good thing. And it is a good thing that they didn't get angry and did something else instead. So people who didn't lack reason for anger or the power to take revenge, to inflict injury, to hurt somebody else. So we can't just say, well, they got angry, but they couldn't do anything about it. No, these are people who definitely could do things about it because they are at the top of their society. So let's look at some of these examples. He talks about Antigonus, who is not actually the grandfather of Alexander of Macedon, as Seneca gets a little bit mixed up about, but that doesn't matter so much. So what does Antigonus do? It says, nothing would have been easier for him than to order the execution of the two common soldiers who, while leaning against his tent, were doing what people do with the greatest peril and the greatest pleasure, expressing a low opinion of their king, their leader, right? This is what people do. They complain, they talk behind the boss's back, and every once in a while, the boss is there. We even have tropes of this in TV shows where you're saying something about the boss, and then you say to the other person, he's standing right behind me, isn't it? Well, that's exactly what happened in this case. So Antigonus could have said, okay, you dummies, you don't like me? I'll show you. I'll give you a reason not to like me. And so he heard everything, and he pulls the curtain aside and he says, go a bit further off so the king doesn't hear you. What is he doing there? He's letting him know, hey, I heard you guys. And he's saying, I'm not going to do anything about it, but let's not keep this up. And then a story, he says, some of the soldiers were heaping curses on the king because he'd led them onto a muddy trail from which they couldn't extricate themselves. So he went up to those who were having the hardest time and helped them to get unstuck, and they didn't recognize him. And so he says, okay, curse Antigonus if you want to, whose fault landed you in this misery, but bless the man who got you out of this mud hole, and, joke's on them, it's the same guy, right? So another case. Then there's enemies who say bad things about him. When he had the Greeks under siege in some 2-bit fort, and they made jokes about his ugliness, mocking his short stature, now his smashed nose, he said, well, I'm delighted and can hope for some good outcome if I have Silenus, who's a satyr, who's smashed up nose, short guy, in his camp. So he's making a joke of it. When he'd reduced those smart mouths through starvation, he took the captives and distributed among his own companies those who were fit for soldiering. So that's actually treating them quite well. He's saying, you guys can join me, and I'm not going to take any sort of revenge against you. The others, he sold as slaves, saying he wouldn't have done it, but it was in their own interest to have a master, seeing as how they had wicked tongues, right? So he did take a little bit of revenge, but much less than he could have. And then we get Philip of Macedon, who's, reputed for being a mild guy. So we hear that if Philip had any virtue, it was forbearance, which is a translation of Seneca's patientia. Now, patientia is, for the Stoics, part of courage. It's endurance is another way that we translate it. Endurance in the face of being insulted by people. And he says that this is a great and useful tool for safeguarding his rule. And he gives a few cases. Demochares, who is called free talker for his aggressive way of speaking. He came to Philip on an embassy with other Athenians. Philip says, tell me what I can do to please the Athenians. And Demochares says, go hang yourself, right? So he's insulting him. He's saying something bad. And Philip, people are like, we got to do something about this guy. And Philip's like, let that great Thersites go safe and unharmed. But the rest of you ambassadors, tell the Athenians the people who say that sort of thing are much more arrogant than those who hear them and leave them unpunished. So he's giving them a lesson about what it means to be a ruler. Now, Thersites is a jackass from Homer's Iliad who gets beat up by the war leaders for being a jackass, right? So in this case, the jackass doesn't get that. And then he talks about Augustus Caesar, very well known for being a patient and lenient person. He says, many deeds and sayings of Augustus make it plain that anger had no dominion over him. So the historian had said some things about Augustus, his wife, his whole household, and Augustus warned him to use his tongue with greater restraint and then barred him from his house. But he continued on, reciting the history he'd composed and placed the books containing the accomplishment of Caesar Augustus on the fire. He conducted a feud with Caesar, but no one feared his friendship. No one fled from him as though he'd been struck by lightning. Imagine if it had been Sulla who had been insulted that way, or Caligula who had been insulted that way. They would have killed that person and their family and probably their friends as well. But Augustus doesn't do that. Like he says, Caesar put up with this patiently, right? He displays patient behavior, patienter, same sort of thing as Philip of Macedon. So what should we take from this? So Seneca is going to tell us, here's the lesson for each of us. Every one of us should say to himself, when they're provoked, I'm not more powerful than Philip, am I? And you might say, well, why is that relevant? Why do you care about that? Come back to Philip or Augustus or Antigonus, they didn't lack reason for anger, and they had power to take the revenge if they had chosen to. I don't actually have more power than Philip of Macedon, so why should I think that it's okay for me to take revenge? I'm a lesser person in some respects, at least in terms of power, when he didn't do that. He could have done it, but he didn't do it. Why should I be doing that? So he says, he was abused with impunity. I don't have the kind of power in my own home that deified Augustus had over the whole world, do I? But he was content just to put some distance between himself and the man who was insulting him. Why should I punish with whips and shackles a slave who spoke too loud and looked a little too defiant and didn't come in response to my whisper? Who am I that it should be a sin to bruise my ears? Many people have forgiven enemies. Shall I not forgive those who are lazy or careless or talkative? So it's basically saying, hey, if they could do it and they had the opportunity to not do it, why am I letting myself get so worked up about these things that are lesser? They're just in my household, and wanting to take revenge on somebody who's in a subordinate position to me. So, if Philip could handle it, I can handle it. If Augustus could handle it, I can handle it. There's a couple other examples that he gives in Book 3 that I think are also well worth thinking about. Seneca's not recommending them at that point, but he could have been. So one of them, interestingly, is Plato. Plato has a slave who he's angry with, and we read he couldn't get himself to grant a delay. So one of the ways to deal with anger is to just take a pause. Plato couldn't do that. And so he had the slave take off his tunic and offer his back. He was going to give it with his own hand. And then he realized he was angry. He raised his hand and kept it raised in midair and stood there like someone poised to strike. So a friend came up to him and was like, "What are you doing, man? Why are you just standing there? Go ahead and whip him if you're going to whip him." And Plato says, "I'm punishing an angry man." Who's the angry man he's punishing? Himself. He's keeping control until he can get over his anger. He says, like someone paralyzed, he maintained the pose, grotesque for a wise man, of someone on the verge of savagery, having now forgotten the slave because he'd found another more deserving of rebuke. Who's that guy? Himself. So, again, if Plato can do it, that means we can do it too, right? If Plato can fall into it, it means we can fall into it as well. And then there's two other interesting examples that he rattles off right away, one after the other. Towards the end of this book, he says, suppose someone insulted you. It wasn't a worse insult than what Diogenes the Stoic suffered, was it? What was the insult that Diogenes the Stoic suffered? Just when he was lecturing on anger, a young man spat in his face. Now, spitting in somebody's face, that's pretty insulting, right? Especially in ancient times, but even in our own times, I think you can get behind this. So he's lecturing. He's the one who's there. People are there to listen to him. A guy comes up and spits right in his face. What does he do? He bore it gently and wisely, saying, I'm not in fact angry, though I think perhaps I should be, right? And then Cato. Cato's also a Stoic. Cato, he's arguing a case, and this Lentulus guy spits in his face with all the slimy spittle he could muster. So you can imagine him doing the, making sounds that we do as we're trying to get as much mucus in our mouth and spit it all over him. Cato says he's got a great one-liner in response. He wipes his face and he says, I'll bear witness to all, Lentulus, that those who say you have no talent are dead wrong. He's saying, yeah, you do have a talent for spitting. The rest of the stuff you're not any good at, but, you can't really help yourself.
dummy. These are ways in which, we could follow. These are good examples, not so much of anger, although Plato, it definitely is a case of anger, right? But instead, these are cases showing us how we might diffuse, how we might delay, how we might remove or lessen our own anger. And, the lesson here is, hey, if these guys can do it and they were in situations where they didn't have to do it, you can do it too. I can do it, you can do it, us ordinary people. So Seneca is giving us these examples to help us out. And we could use this as a sort of practice when we get into situations where we feel that we're being insulted, humiliated, treated badly. We can say, well, maybe I am, but other people who certainly, had it rough as well, they were able to handle it. I think I can handle it too.